Welcome to the Wildverse podcast, sponsored by Pro One, where we introduce you to the wild world of taxidermy, a place where artists and hunters collide. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Heather.
And today we have a special guest who isn't just a fantastic big cat taxidermist, but also a skilled houndsman in the beautiful state of Colorado.
Yeah, we thought that he would be the perfect mixture of both worlds to really give us some great perspective on the things going on in the state of Colorado right now, since he has some skin in the game on both ends of the spectrum.
Yes, so we would like to welcome our guest, Leland Reinier from Big Cat Taxidermy in Craig, Colorado. How are you doing, Leland?
Good. How are you?
Good. I don't know if I said your last name right.
No, you did.
No, I practiced.
Good job.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Oh, good. I thought she didn't, so that's good.
No, you're good.
Thought I didn't either. Well, cool. Thanks for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
I think a great start would be to tell everybody how you got your start in taxidermy. How did you learn? Where did that all begin?
Right. So I started early, really early. So my dad went to taxidermy school in 1988 and 89 at Colorado Institute of Taxidermy Training in Denver. He went to night classes. He was a construction worker by trade, and then he went to taxidermy school at night. And so I got to join him a lot at taxidermy school in the evening, at the ripe young age of 11 and 12 years old.
Wow.
And so I started that way. And then my parents divorced, and in 1990, my dad moved to Steamboat, and me and my brother went with him to Steamboat Springs. And he started a company called B&L Quality Taxidermy for Bob and Leland. Even at the young age of, 12, 13 years old, I was included in that business. So I was always around his studio, skinning stuff, playing with stuff, stitching stuff, just kind of being a grunt. And then one thing leads to another, right? Father-son disagreements. I moved away from his place my sophomore year in high school, and went to Grand Junction, graduated high school, went to Mesa State University for a while. And then I was just kind of lost. I had a chance to go to art school. I had a chance to go to Colorado Institute of Art. And I went and looked at the program, and all they wanted to do is push me into graphic arts. And that wasn't my deal. Wildlife art was my love. That's all I did in high school. Like my senior year, the last semester I had in high school, I had 2 drawing and painting classes, and I had weights. And my teacher just let me draw showpieces. And that's all I drew was wildlife art. So I thought, man, I'm going to go back to taxidermy. And so I actually went to the same place where Dad went to. I went to Colorado Institute of Taxidermy Training in Denver. I went night classes the same way, sat in the exact same bench that he went to, and was the last graduating student of that school. When I graduated, they closed that school.
Wow.
I had a small little business in Denver, still worked a full-time job, just kind of did some stuff in the garage. And then in 2000, my dad was hurt bad in a vehicle rollover. It was August. It was archery antelope season. Both him and my brother were flight for life to Denver.
Oh, wow.
And I was living in Denver still. And so I raced to the hospital, rode a lot of street bikes back then, a lot of crotch rockets, and I raced to the hospital on my bike and got there, and they were in bad shape. Dad's knee was completely destroyed. His ankle was shattered in pieces. And here it was going into archery deer and elk season, and he didn't have any help. He was all by himself. He was on crutches. He was cast up. And so I quit everything I was doing, and I moved to Steamboat. Moved in actually to his house. He paid me just enough to make my truck and cell phone payments and my little bills that I had. I went from, living really good and being a young single guy to living at my dad's place and being his slave in the shop, should we really say. But I got him through that fall, and, that business never took a hiccup.
Wow.
Because of that, he asked me if I'd stay and help him. And so I stayed through that next winter and helped him build those pieces. And then I actually went and got a different job that summer. And then he brought me back in the fall. I stayed there till 2004. The last year I worked for him was not real good. You take 2 artistic people and you put them in 1,000 square feet, and you put those egos in there, and it gets really bad. And
yeah, and you had the fact you were father and son.
Yeah, exactly, Heather.
Right. So that year too, I started taking in lions on the side. unbeknownst to my father, because of my love of cats and because of my love of hounds and being around hounds and being around houndsmen, and all my friends were hound guys, I started taking in cats. And that winter, I took in 12 cats on the side. And I remember Dad only took in 4 in the studio. And I said, there's a need for this. And so I took that money of those 12 lions, I took the profit off that. And then Jenny and I were married in June of 2004, and we took part of our wedding money and we started our shop. We started Big Cat Taxidermy. So that was kind of the prelude into starting Big Cat Taxidermy. But grew up in the industry, grew up in the taxidermy industry, grew up in the hunting industry. My uncle was a guide and outfitter in the Flat Tops Wilderness, and I got to spend my early years with him. So I've always been around hunting, always been around taxidermy, obviously. So that was the start of it.
Yeah, so it's been like your whole life has been around taxidermy, around hunting. So it almost was like it
Exactly.
just was a natural thing for you to pursue.
It was a natural flow. It really was a natural flow, but it was the love of wildlife art. Being a kid, a little kid, that's all I did is I did pencil drawings and charcoal drawings, and it was, elk and cats and horses and stuff like that. Like that's all I did. And so, taxidermy was really, really natural for me. And I think too, like to where I'm at right now in life size work, me drawing life size stuff all the time, my whole life, it just is fed into this.
Yeah, and so of course the name of your business is Big Cat Taxidermy. So would it be right to assume that mountain lions make up most of your work that you do?
Mountain lions make up 95% of my work. That's what we do day in and day out. There's always like a revolving door of about 200 cougars in the walk-in freezer. It's crazy that that's the way it is. That was always my dream. That's all I really ever wanted to do. It was funny. Straight out of taxidermy school, I branded Big Cat Taxidermy because I that's what I wanted to do. Straight out of taxidermy school, I wanted to be a cat taxidermist. I wanted to mount nothing but cougars, and I just absolutely loved it. So yeah, 95% of my work is cat work, and cougars primarily. There's leopards in there. There's a handful of small cats left that I still have to do. I haven't taken small cats in 2 years. Sheep are a big thing. I love sheep, and it's just kind of a break of the cats. But I truly love North American wild sheep. I like bears. I've done a lot of bears and done a lot of bear work, but just due to the sheer size of them now, with me just being by myself, I've kind of eliminated the bear stuff. So, but yeah, cougars are my deal, man. That's why it's Big Cat Taxidermy.
Because so you said you don't take in bears any longer, right? You're primarily just taking in mountain lions, taking in big cats.
Yep, taking in cats, leopards, and sheep. I've always loved leopards. I'll never ever say no to a leopard just because if it's a nice break of the norm. There's something like mesmerizing to me about leopards. The spots, just how they're built. Like I've been so fortunate to be to Africa, 3 different times now, and yeah, I've only skinned 3 leopards myself, but I've been leopard hunting, and I've got to see them up close. And man, there's just something about leopards. And so, like African shipments, we just take the leopards out, or if it's at another taxidermy shop, they'll just send me the leopard. And I hate kind of doing that, but it's up to the client. But I personally like to brokerage the shipment in. I'll pull the leopard out, and then I'll send everything else somewhere else. So, but yeah, it's just cats here. So, and it really, and two, the reason why I like cats too, not only the love for the cats, but physically, like I handle cats well. The bears are big, heavy, and take a toll on your body, especially brown bears. So it just breaks down to what you can do efficiently by yourself in the shop and you're comfortable doing.
We heard that you only use Russian reflective eyes in your cats, and I would imagine that has kind of changed, maybe due to like what you can get for eyes, or do you still have the inside scoop on getting those eyes? Because I know eyes are hard to come by just in general.
So I've dealt with him for a long time. What I did is I just figured out where the source was to those eyes, and it took me a while, and I kind of had to go in stalker mode on the whole interweb, right? And I found him, and I sent him an email, and ended up he was the guy. And I was real hesitant at first, and I said, well, just send me 6 of this, 6 of this, 6 of this, and let's just see. I was willing to take that chance. And he sent me my first batch, and I was like, oh man, this is actually the guy. This is where these eyes are coming from. And so I've just ordered from him for years and years and years, right? So I knew, you kind of hear that buzz about Russia, right? And Russia was going to go to war, and this was all going to be a mess.
Yeah.
So I put an order together 3 weeks before Putin drops the first bomb. And I'm trying to get out ahead of it. And usually he's really good. Within 2.5 weeks, I have my eyes actually in the States. And it's crazy. I can send 10 sets, or I can send 200 sets from Russia to me for $10. I mean, Tom Matuska can't even send me one set, to me for $10, right? So anyways, I order 200 sets of eyes, and we don't get them. Putin drops the first bomb, and then they go to war. Well, then the boycott goes out, right? We can't transfer funds. He can't ship direct to us. It turns into a mess. Well, we end up having to pay a contact of his in New York, and then he has to ship them to a different country, to ship them to a different country to us. So, but now our last shipment come directly to us, and actually, funny enough, I had ordered the same time Matuska had ordered, and he swapped our orders.
Oh.
So I get this order. It's got all these bear eyes, and it's got fox eyes, and it's got all sorts of random stuff, right? So I call out there, and I'm like, hey, this is Leland at Big Cat Taxidermy. I think I got your guys' eye order because it comes from the same guy, right? And Mandy calls me back, and she's like, I think we have your order. Well, then they go looking through it, and my order is incomplete. They had opened up my order and started selling my order. And so,
Oh no.
So what I
That's
did
not
is
good. I'd be like,
so
man.
I just took their cougar eyes that they had ordered out of their order, sent them their stuff, and then Tom sent me my stuff. But yeah, I just deal directly with him. But I always try to keep 200 to 300 sets in stock. We're probably going to make another big order this week, actually. So just to stay out in front of it, I always want to have enough eyes that I can mount everything that's in my freezer, right? So it's just me staying ahead of everything. But I haven't had a problem, I think, just because I keep so much stock, right?
Yeah. You keep like a big inventory, right?
Exactly. The only thing I had with the eye shortage that everybody else suffered was I couldn't get eyes for my sheep. I had about,
For your sheep?
yeah, so my bighorns, my Dall sheep, my stone sheep, my
Mm.
desert sheep, and I really only like 250 IQs, Tohican 250 IQs in my sheep. Well, as we all know, you couldn't get Tohicans, right?
Right.
And so I did have a little limited set of Tohican 250 IQs here that I had been kind of rat holing. But I had to go and get, everything else that was available. But that was the only real eye shortage I suffered. So, but
So you, like you said, you got ahead of it,
I did.
and then if like you were wanting to order eyes right now, like today, would that be an issue, you think, or
No, I don't think
would you
so.
be able to? No. Okay,
No,
that's good
I,
to know. So
I
it
think,
sounds like you've done your homework and really got the connection, and it's a strong connection there, and right.
right. And it's funny. I've had a lot of other guys hit me up because they know that that's the only eye I use. And they're hitting me up and they're like, hey, have you had any problems with the Russian? And I was like, no, I don't have any problems with it. Why? Well, he's not returning my emails, and I'm trying to order a bunch of eyes, and I'm like, man, I don't know what to say, because he always emails me back, and he actually gives me a heck of a break. But when you're ordering 200, 300 sets of eyes every time you order from the guy, you know, I don't expect a break, but he dang sure gives me a break. So, and he takes care of me, and
Yeah.
and really to send them from Russia to even send 10, 20 sets, that's kind of a pain in the butt. So to where I'm ordering 200, 300 sets of eyes, you know, I hate to say it, but I guess I'm more his priority, in making sure that I have my eyes. So, but yeah, I haven't suffered that. One one shortage I did have a problem with was foam for a while. When we all kind of went through that
Right.
foam shortage when Texas froze.
Yeah.
But I actually found a company in Florida, and the foam was phenomenal, and they could ship it to me at halfway reasonable. And so I still have their foam. I'm still carrying their foam.
So you were able to find it like another good company to work with
Yep.
just out of happenstance. And so that's cool that, you wouldn't have been able to find them before.
Yeah, a guy that worked for me, Steve Rowland, that is in South Carolina now. I hit Steve up, and Steve's like, "Hey, I'm getting this stuff out of Florida, and it's stout. It's like 4 pound foam, and the 5 gallon kit was cheaper than anybody else had. And I only bring it in at 5 gallons a piece just so that it stays fresh. And we're always rolling through it, obviously, but man, it's great foam. And the guy never had a shortage, never was without it. And so we've stuck with that guy, just because he took care of us.
Are you able to like give other people the little like dish on where they can get the foam?
Yeah, if I had that info,
Heather's curious.
I'm horrible about keeping that stuff at my fingertips. I stay in the back and just work. My wife Jenny, she would have it right at her fingertips, so Jenny would be able to look that stuff up and have that name. But like I said, Steve Rowland took care of me on that deal, and out there in South Carolina, and so yeah, we could look at that. Another foam company or foam that I really like to use, actually, a lot of is whatever they're getting at Research Mannequins. I really like that foam. That foam has a great kick time to where I'm always altering and I need to be going as fast as I can go. The kick time with that foam that Research Mannequins has is actually the best. The stuff from Florida is a little bit slower, but it's stout. I don't have to go and back it as much, because I'm doing so much alterations. You know, you're obviously not going to pour it as hard as everybody else is pouring it inside a fiberglass mold, so you got to back it with something, whether you Bondo it or mache it or whatever. So, but yeah, Research Mannequins has a great foam just because it kicks so fast.
Is it the foam that they use on their
Yeah.
mannequins too?
Yep.
Like, is it the same stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark, I get some of that from Mark. Same deal. He sends it to me 5 gallons, both sides. But I love it. Instead of altering 2, 3 things at one time with everybody else's foam, I can alter one form and just go through it. As soon as I make a pour, man, I can alter that and be pouring on the other end of the mannequin, and so I can just bounce back and forth. It's just kicking so fast. So
I also saw that you were part of a collective artist piece at the World Show the one year, and it looks like, was it just the habitat that you were a part of, or was it like the cat and the habitat?
no, so I did the majority of it. So I had this idea, right? And me and Aaron Conley had been thinking about a piece for a long time. And I had taken this lion for myself. My daughter actually sales pitched me into killing a lion. We were just out playing and ended up catching this great lion. But anyways, I wanted to do something that nobody had ever done. And so I approached Aaron Conley with an idea. And I said, "Hey, I've got this lion. I've got a pose in mind that I think will be really, really timeless, but it's laying down. It changes how laying down cats are done. You don't have the scrunched up leg issues and the taxiing issues." And I said, would you be game? And he says, "Yeah, I'd be game." And so I went to Aaron Conley's, and Aaron and I are really good friends. And we altered this body into the pose that we have. And that pose is sold through Headquarters Taxidermy Supply. And then Aaron kept the body and duplicated that body And then that's the sculpture that went to HQ. Well, then I called Dale Manning at Habitat Rock and I said, hey, Dale, I've got this idea in my mind. Aaron and I built this body. I want you to build a rock formation for this thing. And then I want to take it to the Worlds in 2017. And I want to have a mounted version of it. I want to have the sculpture version of it that Aaron can put in the pre-sculpt division. And I want you to have the rock. And then all the taxidermists can go, okay, well, I can buy that form, I can buy that rock, and I can make it look like that. And so I wanted it to be a marketing deal, but I wanted it to showcase all of us. So what we did, we built the body. The body went to Dale. Dale built the rock. The body came back to me. The first rock came back to me. I then sculpted over the body. Aaron come down to the shop. We retweaked the body a little bit to make it a little bit different and different than what you can buy out of HQ. Just make it mine, right? And so we reworked the body. Aaron left. He took his sculpture home. And then I built that lion. I built him 100%. I finished him 100%. Nobody else had that lion. I then took the rock formation. I made a few alterations to it. I set it up with the tree. I had it all seamed together, everything. We went to the World Show in Illinois. Dale and crew met me in the parking lot. We took it inside the show. Well, sorry, back that up. We painted the rock in the parking lot of the World Show.
Oh,
We held
Oh, no way.
we held basically a rock painting seminar in the World Show parking lot. So we paint the rock,
Oh, that's cool.
we put it on the base, we put all the tree on the base, everything, snow it inside, and we take it in and set it up. And then Aaron brought his sculpture in. We set it on a rock that was finished. Dale already had copies in his booth and stuff like that. So that was that piece. You know, what Aaron did was help build the body. And what Dale did, and Dale and his team of guys, they built that rock formation and built the rock. But the actual cat piece was my work. Nobody else touched the lion. It's one of my personal lions. I still have it in the house. So that's the last showpiece I have ever done, right there.
That's a good one to retire on, though, for sure.
Yes,
I think it's kinda confusing there because I'm looking at the page on Breakthrough. It says Habitat Rock Crew and then, like, dot, dot, and everybody, so I think that's why it kinda looks
right.
like maybe it was only the Habitat, but it's kinda worded
Yeah,
funny,
it
but
was worded
yeah, no,
funny.
it's a beautiful
Yeah,
piece.
thank you. Scored a 95.
Yeah, nice.
You know what? It's a cool piece. I think I can dang sure do better. I think every piece you can do better. I still look at it. Obviously I get to look at it every day. It's sitting in my trophy room in my house right beside my TV. And I pick it apart and I'm like, man, I can change that and I can change that. And I do that so much better now. So if I ever get the urge to go, I dang sure know what I'd do different now.
Yeah, and that piece, because you won, what was it, 2nd place in the collective
Yep.
artist division, is that
Yep.
right? Dang, yeah, at the World Show, and what a good one to kinda end
Right.
on then, and then, take a break and then maybe come back into it later. We'd love to see more,
Yeah.
Big Cat Taxidermy, big cats.
You know,
So,
until the kids are grown, I'm just not going to rob that time with them. You know, Phil
yeah.
Susie and I have talked a lot about that. And me and Phil always catch up at whether it's Safari Club or now we catch up more often. And for a long, long time, Phil was always from 2019 on like, Leland, are you going to go to the Worlds? Are you going to go to the Worlds? And I'm not going. The World Show is the only show that I'd go to. I feel like there's maybe some unfinished business there. I'd like to go, but until these kids are grown, I owe it to them to stay home. And two, every piece I get better and better. And, I also have to build that spark back up, and I've got to have an idea. When that idea hits and I have that spark or I have that right cat, that's another thing too. You got to have that right piece. And maybe
Right.
when that skin hits my hands,
Something that inspires you.
right, right. And then, one of those thoughts while you're laying in bed at night thinking about cool pieces, when you finally decide, okay, I want to do that, right? And I think we're all trying to, on show pieces, we're all trying to figure out, well, what hasn't been done, right? and it doesn't matter if it's whitetail deer division or if it's life-size cats or whatever. Like there's been so much done. So to try to find what hasn't been done, and I actually know kind of what I do, and I'm not going to say what I do, but there's one pose in particular that has never ever been done, and an expression that's never ever been done. And so I think I might do that, but there's just not time in my schedule right now. When you're as far behind as I am, I can't rob my clients with show pieces. I just can't.
Yeah, very understandable. And like you said, it was funny you talked about when you're laying in bed at night, like, and you're thinking of these. I do the same thing. I'll be laying. That's when I do
Right.
my best thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
When you're, like, literally dreaming about, like, your piece coming together, and then when that's all you can think about,
Yes.
okay, then maybe you should put a piece together,
Exactly.
but, yeah, if it's hard to force that too, so if you're not feeling it also, I mean, along with everything else you got going on in your life, if you're not feeling the feeling,
Well,
then you can't really force that
I
either.
don't know. I mean, do you guys have the same problem? Like, there's days you walk into the shop or whatever, and you just don't feel it. Like, you just have days where you can't sculpt an eye, or you just, there's just days you don't feel artistic, right?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's another thing, you can't force that either, so that's the tricky part about having a business that
exactly
requires you to tap into your creative
right.
mind. Ugh,
Right, right. So
totally.
you gotta have the right skin, you have to have the right idea, and you have to have the right drive to go do it and have that mindset. And what I wait for is like when that animal or that pose is the one that wakes me up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and I can't wait to go put together. Like that's when you know, like, okay, that's the piece I need to go build. But I haven't had that. Like I've got a piece that I've got to build for a client that's been keeping me up at night. It's a fighting cougar and a black bear over a dead mule deer buck. All life size pieces, big suspension pieces. But it's not something I want to go show with.
But it's still exciting, and it makes you excited and
Exactly.
right.
And to me
You tripped
it's
your trigger.
right. To me, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to attach everything? How am I going to build the armatures? And I'm going to have steel through that deer, into that bear leg, into that lion paw, and all that has to be suspended and balanced, and have it artistically presented, you know, and not just be an absolute eyesore. So that's the one piece that I've been spending the most time thinking about. And then I've got two stone sheep that we're doing, or I'm doing, that are running, both single leg suspensions, and all going on one piece, one pedestal piece, and it's for a husband and wife. But those pieces, those are the ones that are keeping me up at night. But it's not something I want to take to the world show. It's not stuff that has cast noses and cast mouths and all that stuff in it. It's just really over the top commercial grade stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely going to be some fun ones to do, regardless of being
Yeah.
showpieces or not.
This episode of Wildverse is sponsored by Pro One Performance Chemicals. Pro One specializes in tanning chemicals for the professional taxidermist. They offer a complete line of tanning products to provide you with everything you need to tan your next hide. I really like their Pro Max Tan for my personal tanning projects. They make it so simple, it's easy to follow instructions printed right on the bottle. I actually used Pro One to tan the deer that I won with at Nationals, and I was using this same tan to tan some bobcats last week. It's super versatile. Not only does Pro One have you covered for all your tanning needs, they also sell Pro One Hide Paste, the industry standard in glue. Heather and I both use Pro One Hide Paste on every single mount. We love it. It has a thick consistency that makes it easy to apply to the form, yet it's soft and pliable enough that it can be easily manipulated under the skin after you throw the hide on. If you haven't tried Pro One Hide Paste, I am telling you, you are missing out. And now, as of 2024, you can order Pro One products directly online at pro1performancechemicals.com. That's PRO, the number one, performancechemicals.com.
So I know you say about how busy you are, and I know I had actually talked to probably probably a couple of years ago, I was looking for a mountain lion hide, and you were talking about how bad you needed help. So I assume that's still the case. Like you're still looking for help in your shop.
I am. Yeah. Anybody that follows me on Instagram or, my personal Facebook page, I don't have a business Facebook page, but anybody that knows who I am and what I do, I've been looking for help for over a year and a half.
Wow.
And man, I'd take anybody. I mean, I'd take entry level apprentice. I'd take finished taxidermist. I'd take a habitat finish person. I mean, absolutely anybody. And I've had some people in here, and some really, really talented. I had one girl this last year, and her super, super talented and a really a great young girl. But, time of her life is just not right, right? She's chasing a boyfriend and doing things, so but man, we're struggling, just absolutely struggling. I think where we live is a big, big drawback. We've had some really talented people come work for us, and unfortunately, they don't ever last more than a year. Whether it's wives don't like being here, because you don't have big, department store stuffs, or you just don't have chain restaurants or whatever, those modern conveniences, right, of big city living. Or you have single guys come and work, and they first get turned on with the hunting and the outdoors and working here and doing the pieces that we get to do, but the dating pool is really, really small. And
Yes.
and next thing you know, like they've met somebody through an app or whatever in a different town. And so that's really, really been tough. But yeah, for a year and a half we've been looking for anybody, absolutely anybody, and it just hasn't happened. I'm fortunate I get to stay in the back and I don't get to handle any business stuff.
That's nice.
Very rarely do I get to talk to a client unless it's I have to fit a certain piece in a certain spot or I've got a major alteration piece. Then I'll talk to the guy. But I pawn those off on my wife, and she really does a phenomenal job of filtering those phone calls and filtering those wants of people wanting to talk to me and wasting my time because I need to be building, you know, and and a lot of times either my hands are covered in foam or they're covered in glue or whatever or covered in blood because I'm prepping one. So but it's 12-hour days every day at the minimum. Short days are 8 hour days. I would work a lot of 6 day work weeks. It's just nonstop. But the phone rings all day, the text messages hit all day, the emails hit all day. When you have 200 cougars in a backlog and you're operating between a 24 to 30, 32 month turnaround time, guys are impatient, and I understand it. I mean, I absolutely do understand it. And when we took a lot of that stuff on, I had a full-time apprentice. Kid worked for me for 3 years. Between him and I, we would sew up 110 life-size lions a year.
Wow.
Plus, do two dozen small cats. We do a couple dozen game heads every single year. But he was the exception to the norm. He's the fastest guy I know other than me. He'll sew up a mountain lion in sometimes 4 hours. He's a 20-year-old kid. So I can, from the time I walk through the door in the morning, like, my skins are prepped, my forms are prepped. Like, when I go to actually mount a lion, I clay the eyeballs, I get everything set up, I put him on. 6 hours later, he's stitched up, and he's ready to go to the wash bay, and he's ready to be shampooed and stuff like that. Slater was able to duplicate that. It took me about a year to get him to that level, but he could sew a lion up in 4 to 5 hours. We had lions sewed up by lunchtime, and then I was already prepping out in front of him and altering out in front of him, and then he'd come in and do the armatures and kind of get rock work roughed in and get sticks under legs and stuff like that set up. Him and I every week would mount 3 lions a week. And,
Wow, what a great help.
yep. And we'd go hard. Like I said, we'd go hard for 3 weeks. And then we'd have a week of finish and habitat stuff. But I haven't been able to duplicate that. I haven't been able to find that. I haven't even had anybody apply. That That's the
So
crazy.
not only has he spoiled you, but you're not even getting any kind of applicants interested, anything like that.
I'm not getting anything. And the crazy part is, like, I've had some of the biggest hitters in the taxidermy world call me and ask me for their leftovers of my applicants. Stuart Farnsworth at Monarch Taxidermy in Montana was one of them. Stuart called me. He's like, Leland, who didn't you hire? I'll take whoever you have. Stuart, I didn't
Dang,
get
wow.
I didn't get an applicant, right? And he's like, no way. I thought they'd be standing in line to work for Big Cat Taxidermy. I'm like, dude, I thought that same way. If somebody wanted to come be a cat taxidermist, what a better place. Another thing that I never thought about, a good friend of mine down in West Texas, down there in Alpine, Ty Vick at Desert Taxidermy. Ty probably opened up the other side of it. And Ty said, Leland, I've been doing taxidermy for a long, long time. And he said, dude, I'd love to work for you. But he said, I'd be intimidated to come work for you. What you do day in and day out
I
and
could
how
see
you
that.
do it, I don't know that I could come work for you. And I was like, Ty, like, I don't want to be like that. And I don't need somebody to be just like me. I just want somebody to come be a part of the team and help take some of the burden and be a part of it, and I don't care if I train my next competition. I truly, truly don't. Like, I had one guy, he called me for 2.5 hours. He's like, I just really want to come work for you for a year. And then I want to go home and do it on my own. And I was like, come on, let's go. He says, well, I need to have a discussion with my wife and I'll call you back tomorrow. That was 6 months ago. I've never heard from him.
Crickets, huh?
Crickets. And I would have taken that.
Man.
That's like, I feel like I need to almost stop listening to you because I'm like, man, what would be better than to move to Colorado and work on cats and go to rodeos?
Right.
I know, no kidding. I'm like, that sounds real tempting.
Yes.
Like Slater and I, we like to work on a 4-day work week. We'd start at 6 in the morning and we'd roll till, in the summertime, we'd roll till 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But we took Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays off, and so we had 3-day weekends. I tried that. I advertised that 4-day work weeks. I'll pay piece rate to finish guys. I'll do above hourly. I mean, I even offered to take guys mountain lion hunting as part of it. Like, Steve Rowland worked for me 3 different times. And Steve's killed 2 lions with me, and that was just all employee appreciation.
Yeah.
I tried it with.
That was like a team building exercise.
Right. Right. And I tried that with Daniel Meng. I mean, I tried to hire Daniel. And Daniel, I'll catch you lions. Like, we'll go lion hunting and everything. And Daniel's chasing his own dream. And I helped him push him down that path. And the kid is doing really, really good. And I'm super, super proud of him. But man, I've tried everything to get people to come work. But it's just not meant to be.
Yeah, well, hopefully maybe this episode will kind of help if it gets in the right
Right.
ear and
Right.
maybe even if that person doesn't listen, they know a person, hopefully that
Exactly.
kind of puts a bug in somebody's ear. Somebody's out there for you, I'm sure.
I hope so.
Let me touch on something you just mentioned. So, I mentioned you're a houndsman at first, when we first introduced you here. You run hounds, you've got dogs, and so we would like to kind of touch on that too. What got you into hound hunting?
So in 1996, I went on my first lion hunt, and it was a year after I graduated high school, and was very fortunate and killed a really, really nice lion with some guys here in Craig. And I probably should have never wanted to lion hunt again. That night, it ended up being about 17 below zero. The lion fell off about a 350-foot cliff. We didn't get the lion out until 2 days later. Like, it was a mess. But there was
Like anything that can go wrong
did
will
go
go
wrong.
wrong type of thing. Yeah.
100%. It went
Okay,
wrong.
dang.
But there was something about the chase, and it was something about the dogs. I was raised with bird dogs, And I love bird dogs, and I love shooting stuff with dogs. But there was something different about hounds. And then, like 2 years later, I don't know if you guys have heard of like Country Jam USA. It's a great big music festival in Grand Junction, Colorado. And I was at Country Jam and ran into a bunch of friends, and there was this guy there, and we've been friends ever since that meeting. And the guy's name's Bobby Farmer, and he lives in Norwood, Colorado. And Bobby grew up being a houndsman. His dad was a houndsman, and they hunted lions, bears, bobcats forever. And so I told Bobby about that hunt. He's like, "You can come hunting with me anytime. Come down." And so that next winter, I was like, I'm in. So I called Bobby and ran down there to Norwood and got to go lion hunting with him in the wintertime, and just like just fell in love with hunting and lion hunting. And I always said, like, if I was fortunate enough to be able to get my own dogs, I would. And finally, I'd been about 23, and I was kind of in a situation where I thought I could have a couple dogs, and really I wasn't even real set up to have a couple dogs. But I called Bobby and said, "Hey, I'd like to have a couple dogs." And so Bobby gave me my first two dogs, and they were entry level dogs. They weren't nothing finished. I had to spend a bunch of time with them, but anyways, I had a couple hounds, and I was just excited to go hunting, right? And the first year was horrible. I couldn't catch a lion to save my butt. And then the next year, he gave me a good old finished dog. And that dog's name was Luke. And Luke was my very first finished hound that I could go catch a lion with. Well, he started teaching all them other dogs how to go catch a lion. And at first, I'd only catch 2, 3, 4 lion a year. And then you get better dogs, and you learn more about hunting, and you get more involved in it, and stuff like that. And so it just grew. Um, and then we opened up Big Cat in '04, and I kind of had to slow down. And then, we got the business up and rolling super, super strong. And, hound hunting was kind of my hobby along with team roping, but living up here in the northwest corner where you got so much snow, like I couldn't rope much in the wintertime, so I'd rope in the spring, summer, and fall, and then I'd hunt hounds in the wintertime. And so, I just lion hunt all winter long. Every weekend, or if it snowed, I'd go hunting. And then later on, I got some really, really good dogs, ended up with some really good private ground, had all the equipment, had all the, extra trucks and side by sides and snowmobiles and all that stuff. And, so we started running some hunts, and, got licensed with the state and got permitted with BLM, and I had really, really good help in the shop as well. That was the time when Steve worked for me, and I had one or two other employees at different times. And that afforded me to hunt quite a bit. And I would run usually on average about 15 lion hunts in the wintertime. And obviously those hunts would also feed the shop, right? The lions we were catching and taking, we were mounting. So that was putting another dozen lions, 12 to 15 lions in the shop. And so it was a win-win situation, so, but then Steve leaves and, went on to do what he's doing now. And it just got to where it was robbing a bunch of time out of the shop. And so we quit running hunters. Right now, if I run a hunter, it's in a trade, like we traded axis deer hunts to take the kids hunting or something in Texas and got to catch a lion. Or like this year, a really good friend of mine that's hunted with me for years, he got some hay from a rancher, did a big hay deal with this major landowner, and the guy wanted to kill a lion. And Mitch was like, "Hey, can we catch this guy a lion in exchange?" And so we did. We used our license and our permit to validate that trade for him. And so, but anymore, I'm whittled down to 3 dogs. Yeah, I used to carry, about a half a dozen dogs here at the house. And then I have 2 guys that hunt with me, and they always had a half a dozen dogs. So, we had surplus of 18 to 20 dogs all the time. And 20 dogs on feed is a lot of dogs. And I pay for those guys' dog food. They take all the tips out of the hunts. We pay all their vet bills. We pay them to, run their equipment and stuff like that. And so it just got to be kind of a mess. But now we're just down to hobby hunting. Two, it got to where it was a job. Having to get up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and go grind tracks and compete for those lions was really, really tough. Another thing too is our lion population's down. CPW changed our management plan and our quotas 2 years ago against most all houndsmen's wishes. We went to all the meetings. I went to every single meeting, and I fought it and fought it and fought it. And who handles more lions in the state of Colorado than Leland Reinier and Big Cat Taxidermy? Nobody. So I see already what's coming in. I know what the availability is. I can tell you the best week in the year to go kill a lion. And I was telling these people, this is a bad, bad plan. This is a bad, bad plan. Well, they had their agenda. CPW had their agenda. The commission had their agenda. So they put that in. And all of us real educated lion hunters said within 2 years, we're going to feel it. Well, we're 2 years in, and it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. What they had done is they had allowed guys to kill the surplus. You take a unit that only had like 10 lions available to kill, but there was, let's just say, 30, 40 lions living there, but we only killed the 10. Well, we're leaving 30 lion on the landscape. Well, that helped repopulate everything else, especially some units that were real liberal quota wise. We could go down there and kill all them lion every winter, but we had this surplus up here that would repopulate in the summertime. Well, now they've killed their surplus. So it used to be the situation like when in 1996, my very first lion hunt, no joke, we could go cut 10 lions a day.
Wow.
And you just pick the big tom, and you'd run the big tom because you had intentions to take the big tom. You didn't look at sub-adult lions. You never ever turned your dogs loose on a female ever. You just ran big tom lions. Now we're talking 10, 12, 2 weeks to even find a tom track.
Wow.
I'm camped on 3 females. I've got 3 females located. We actually caught the one. She walked out and cut a road one day, and it was still snowing, and it was just an obvious lion track. And we caught her about Christmas week is when we caught her. And a big, beautiful, gorgeous female. We turned on her, caught her there in about a mile, had no intention to take her. So we know exactly what she is. She's walking the road almost every single day. Nobody else can touch her. She's in a bunch of private ground. And we know coming the back end of February when those toms are really running looking for females, if there's a tom lion anywhere in the neighborhood, he's going to come check on her. She's of breeding age, and like I said, she's one of 3. But I have not caught a tom lion and taken a tom lion since Christmas. And we did trail a really, really good lion last weekend. It just got hot on us. We were kind of late in the day. We didn't do our homework. We didn't have him cut down to a really, really tight circle. We were miles behind him. We trailed on him most of the day. And when we walked off the mountain that afternoon, like dogs were walking, but the snow had all melted and the mud's running down the hill, and it just wasn't ideal trailing conditions. We got beat. But that was a really, really good tom lion. We were hunting him this weekend, looking for him. Can't turn him up. I think he's just living on a burn-off hillside and a bunch of big red cliffs, not making tracks, not coming out of there. And it's just kind of a bad enough spot. You don't want to walk off in there, and we've had to do that in the past. If we've had hunters, we'll just turn all the good dogs loose and we'll walk off into a spot and hopefully strike one up and go trail him down. With this country up here, you're either hunting snow or you're hunting frozen dirt. We don't have the luxury a lot to hunt that really nice dirt like the desert guys do. You take the guys in western Colorado or southern Utah, Arizona, West Texas that have those really good dirt conditions that hold a lot of scent. Those guys can trail, all the time. So when we're melting up here, then it freezes at night and those lions will travel on top of that crust. And then that sun starts hitting it and that scent evaporates up out of that track. Well, them dogs ain't got nothing to go on, and so you just end up beating up dogs and running out of dog power and stuff. So, and where we don't have to kill this lion, I mean, we honestly don't. Yeah, we're looking for one for my son, and we're looking for one for my hunting buddy's girlfriend. We'll wait for him to come out. We got till the end of March, and those are the only two tags we really need to fill this year. With us staring down the barrel of this ballot initiative deal.
Right. So I guess if I'm putting my tinfoil hat on, do you think the regulation changes that you experienced in the last few years were kind of like the prelude to the ban initiative kind of being talked about right now? Do you think there's any correlation, or do you think it was just bad management?
No, I do. Inside those meetings when they wanted to run that new quota system, their lion hunting management plan, I said they're going to look at this as a unlimited take, right? Here we went to these great big units with these great big liberal quotas to where we had it so fine tuned per game unit, you know, single number animals per game unit, right? Now there's really no self regulation. They thought houndsmen would self regulate houndsmen. No, that doesn't happen. What it does is it builds competition, right? So if I'm on a piece of BLM somewhere, government ground, public ground, and I let a lion go, because I didn't want to take it, it wasn't the right sex, it wasn't the right age or whatever. Somebody else will come right in there behind me and catch and kill that lion, you know? And so a lot of guys are like, man, I'm not letting it go because the next guy that shows up is going to kill it. So I said that in those meetings, guys, this looks like unlimited take, and they're gonna be on our butt. Boom. What did we have that year? We had the House bill, right? They ran the House bill. It was killed in Senate Ag. We all showed up. We all fought that. We all donated money. We went to the Capitol. We beat it in Senate Ag. When we walked out of that room, we all walked out of that room. HSUS said, we'll see you guys with a ballot initiative. And I said right there, guys, we've got to get on the offense. Us as hunters, we're always on defense, right? We're always waiting for them to make their play, and then we're scrambling to protect our rights. And I said, we need to come on offense. Well, we have a really, really good representative that was on the Wildlife Commission and a former game warden. And his name's Perry Will. And Perry Will, I've known Perry Will a long, long time. And roped with his son and been around Perry when he was a game warden. And, Perry's very, very pro hunting, very pro houndsman, very pro lion hunting. And I brought it up with Perry and I said, Perry, we need to have a right to hunt bill. We need to run a right to hunt bill in this state. He said, Leland, I have it. It is sitting on my desk, but it will never, ever get passed. He said, I can get it through the House. I can get it through the Senate. But when it hits our governor's desk, it's going to get vetoed.
I was gonna say your governor and his doesn't your governor's husband, isn't
Yes.
he a little bit like anti-hunting?
He's major anti-hunting, and that's the problem right
Yeah.
there. It isn't so much the governor, it's his husband, Marlin. That's the problem. He is anti-hunting, he's vegan, he's anti-agriculture, so in this second term, we also knew that in this second term, that was the chance that he could really leave his mark and he could really, really hurt us. He had to play fairly on his first term, so he gains re-election, right? Well, now look what we've got. We've got wolves on the ground. We're staring down a ballot initiative with our lion hunting and bobcat hunting, but Marlin is the driving force behind all this.
Yeah, so I guess can we kind of explain like what exactly this ballot initiative is trying to initiate? Like, so it's a trophy hunting ban, but then in the wording, it's mountain lion, bobcat, and then lynx gets thrown in there, I think, as well, which kind of is like it's just a wordy, like it's a play on word type thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So when they first started this deal, it was labeled trophy hunting, right? Because they say, well, the cats are taken just strictly for trophy. They're not processed for human consumption. They're not eaten. People are not eating those cats. Well, mountain lion, it's state statute. They have to be processed for human consumption. And actually, lions are very good to eat. It's a white meat. It tastes like pork. In fact, we've had lion hams, smoked lion hams for Christmas breakfast.
Wow.
We've done Yeah, we've done tons and tons of lion loins. We make tons and tons of green chili with them. Like, done a lot of stuff with lion meat.
And you have to take meat in Colorado, is that right? Like, you have
Exactly.
to,
You have
collect
to.
the meat when you harvest a lion.
Yes, you have to. So even if I kill him in a really, really bad hole, we pull all the quarters, we pull all the back straps, pull the inner loins. I backpack everything out. So we bring that all in. You know, the bobcat is a big controversy with them because of the fur trade. Obviously, anti-hunting, anti-fur all goes hand in hand. And so they tie the bobcat in on this deal and consider the bobcat as a trophy. Well, then they put lynx hunting on it. Lynx are not available to hunt in the lower 48 at all. They're under federal
Right.
protection, but their whole thinking is if federal protection ever gets lifted in the lower 48, they're going to already put a ban on them. You know, and really their lynx introduction was pretty much a failure. You know, there are still some lynx in the state of Colorado, but a lot of them have went northbound. They went home where they came from. But it was an all-out war. You know, the great powers that be that are fighting this, they got trophy hunting lifted off of it. Thank God. The words trophy hunting. That was
Oh, that's good news.
that is a really, really big win. You know, and that went through Colorado Supreme Court and everything got lifted. So now it's just down to a cat hunting ban, and it's really cougars and it's really bobcats. They're collecting signatures right now. They need 124,000 signatures, but they're not doing it, you know, like conventionally they would always hire somebody. They'd hire an organization to collect these signatures. They've decided not to hire a company to collect signatures, so they're doing it on volunteer basis. Well, you're not going to have qualified signature gatherers, for one. And two, if you're a volunteer, how long are you really going to volunteer? You know, you're going to go downtown Denver with your little clipboard and get a few signatures, and then you're kind of going to squirrel out. But how many of those are actually valid Colorado, you know, registered voter signatures? You know, and that all has to be verified. And I'm not saying they're not going to get their signatures because I think that they will. I think that they're going to get their spot on the ballot, unfortunately. You know, it's scary, scary to think what's going to happen or what could happen in the state. You know, and obviously with my business and what I do, that is a real, real concern. I mean, it's going to it'll take out 60% of the cats that I receive. You know?
Right. And because obviously, Big Cat Taxidermy, that's your whole business.
Right.
And so hopefully, this is like kind of where, if let's say it does pass, right? Hopefully, that would be kind of all it is. eh, like if it passes, because I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with California, for
Yes.
example.
Yes.
Because I'm from California and I have personal experience like with this, and I did taxidermy there. And for anyone who doesn't know, California is a total ban on mountain lions. You can't even import mountain lion pieces into California. So even if you're a California resident, yeah, you can't even have them tan there. If you're a California resident, you can't go to, for example, Colorado, hunt a mountain lion there, and you can't bring it back in.
Exactly right.
Along with mountain lions, they have banned bobcat hunting there.
Yep.
Thankfully, you can still import bobcats into California, but total mountain lion ban in California, it's completely ridiculous. And I think, I have experience with this too, and I can totally say that there is absolutely no sensible reason for the complete ban.
Right.
I get kind of the reasons why, but it's completely senseless and it makes people out to be outlaws when they're not. And it really grinds my gears for sure.
Right. Exactly right. Here's the worst part about it. Like if they ban it, those cats are still going to die. You know, but it's going to be government killers killing them.
And that's exactly how California works. It's
Exactly right.
it's government trappers
Right.
who are able to kill mountain lions still. They're not totally, thriving and surviving. They are still being
Yeah,
killed.
exactly. And they're being destroyed and they're being left behind. And you want to talk about a total
Yep.
loss of resource. You know, another thing that those taxpayers don't understand is instead of me footing the bill or us footing the bill by buying the license and all that stuff, they're actually going to have to start paying to kill these lions. You know, that's what they don't understand.
Yep.
Okay. You don't want us to hunt them. Well, all of a sudden, your tax money is going to go to killing these lions, and they're just going to be left in the woods. And U.S. Fish and Wild, or sorry, USDA is going to destroy that animal. As far as like destroy the hide, cut the hide into pieces, crush that lion's skull so nobody can come in behind them and obtain that skull. Like it is
Yeah,
unreal,
exactly.
unreal what those government killers have to do to destroy that. And I mean, it's just an absolute shame, especially to people like us that love them and actually turn them into something, and we see the revenue, it goes so many different ways, right? It's a guy coming into the state of Colorado and he's buying a mountain lion license, and he's whether he's paying an outfitter, and then the outfitter's having to buy tires, and he's having to buy gas, and he's having to buy vehicles, and all this stuff. Like the amount of money that animal actually brings back to the state is unreal. And you take a small community like Craig, Colorado, elk hunting mecca of the world, right? Elk hunting capital of the world. It's been proven that non-resident dollar turns over 7 times inside the community before it leaves.
Wow.
So we're going to lose that as a state, as every little rural community.
They don't realize the trickle down effect of this one issue, how this is going to impact so many different facets of, life for
Yeah,
everybody who is involved in this at all.
right. And their tax dollar is going to actually pay to kill the animal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the
destroy the
irony.
animal.
Yes, how ironic.
Yeah,
I just can't,
it's
I don't
insane.
understand it. And I don't know why like USDA records are not released to the public like that. Like that's in black and white with the bear deprivation in the state of Colorado. When they outlawed in 1992 our hounds and our bait and our spring season, all of a sudden these USDA killers had to go into overdrive. And it's an unfortunate deal. We're talking of government killers taking 1,500 bears a year in the state of Colorado, and the deprivation costs are upwards towards $2 million annually. Well, now you're going to stick cougars on top of that, and then like
Yeah,
locally in Northwest Corner, where we just took that huge loss in winter kill last year from the biggest winter we've ever had recorded. So we're down on our ungulates and we have a bear problem. And then y'all just released our brand new resident dogs that we just got, our wolves.
right.
And then you're going to ban our lion
Oh my
hunting?
gosh. So yeah, not only financially, but conservationally.
Right.
I was just talking to some friends from Colorado. They're down in Meeker, and they were telling us a little bit about the wolves too. And
Yeah.
so they want to release 50 of them, but they also were telling me that if they only want them on the western slope, they don't want, if they cross
Right.
over to the eastern side, they're going to be killed or chased back. Like, and the eastern side's who's voting for this, and the western side
Right.
is who's voting no. It just
Exactly.
it's so. And they also told me that they're talking about maybe releasing grizzlies and wolverines in the future. Have you heard anything about
Well,
that?
they want to.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Wolverine is the next deal, and that's a multi-state deal. That they want to put those on the ground, and then yeah, they want grizzlies. Well, you don't have the area here to support grizzlies. We don't have the area to support wolves for one.
Aren't they're starting to migrate into Colorado naturally, kind of like wolves were as well.
Exactly.
Grizzly bears, wolves, they're all sort of migrating in naturally and
Exactly.
reclaiming their ancestral range, right?
To some degree, right? Like, and even wolverines, there's been wolverines spotted in the state of Colorado. But really, we don't have really the best climate for one to house those animals. That was part of the reason with the kind of the poor lynx program. There wasn't enough snowshoe hares. You don't have enough boreal forests. There's a certain type of climate and a certain part of terrain that house wolverines, house grizzly bears. A grizzly bear is very, very adaptable. I will give him that. He can live just about anywhere he wants. A wolverine's a little bit different, but yeah, they're going to naturally show up. Just because of being around Yellowstone. Those sub-adults are going to reach out and try to find their own home range. That's how those original wolves got to Colorado, right? Is Wyoming was kind of getting populated, and so those wolves are traveling, and they ended up here in Colorado.
Yeah, so what a mess you guys got going on over there, to be honest.
It is a mess, and
There's a
it's
lot.
and why does the East Slope get to depict what the Western Slope has to live with every single day?
That too, to tie it back into, like, California, like, where I'm from,
Right.
there is such a stark contrast between, like, Southern California and a lot of Northern California, not all of Northern California, but similar, and that
Yep.
the mass majority of people are making rules that affect statewide when it's not them, like, the
Right.
California government, they they do not relate to the common people whatsoever, not even just the common people, like, rural people, anyone. They are totally out of touch with what people are actually experiencing, and so they're making rules that don't actually, like, practically apply to people, and then the same thing is happening there in Colorado, so it's like, you know, obviously California is far worse, and I can attest to
Yes.
that, but, like, Colorado, unfortunately, is, like, right behind.
It is. It is
It's
exactly right.
yeah, it's not just, theoretical, it's it's actually scary that it can happen.
Right. Like with the wolf deal, those people vote the wolves in. They don't want them on their side of the mountain. They want us to live with them every single day, and they might come up within 20 years. They'll come to our side of the mountain. Maybe they'll see one or they'll hear one or, whatever, but we live with them every day. Right. And we see what they do every single day. And it would be the same thing with the lions, right? They have lion problem after lion problem after lion problem down there. Boulder, Golden, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, all that. They have lion problems already. Well, they're going to magnitude that with this ban. This side of the state, we regulate them. We take care of them. We actually give them a natural fear of humans. We don't have human lion conflict, but they want certain things that they can maybe go enjoy on their weekends away, but we have to live with it every single day. you know my little girl, I mean, she's not little anymore, but she's deathly afraid of wolves. I mean, deathly afraid. It's weird. And
Yeah, I don't blame her.
she she's scared to death. Nobody knows where these wolves are at, right? Like the governor's kept them all hush hush, and got CPW on hush, and nobody knows where
Yeah,
these
because they
wolves
they're
are.
tracking them, right? They've all got
Oh yeah, they've
collars,
all
but
got
they're
GPS
they're
collars
not
on them.
saying obviously where
No,
they are. Yeah.
no,
Ugh.
but here this daughter of mine. I mean, we've got horses standing out in the pasture, and we've got a brand new little weanling colt out there. She's scared to
Oh my
death.
gosh. Yeah.
She's scared to death. Them wolves are going to come even here on the edge of town and take out her brand new weanling colt. And those are real concerns with everybody. There's no transparency from the state. There's not even transparency inside CPW. From the governor's desk all the way down to the game warden. Those game wardens are on hush orders. Even these local guys, they barely even know when these wolves are traveling in their areas. The commission and the governor will
The
not.
local game
Right. These local game wardens, local area wildlife managers, they don't know when those wolves are showing up. And so here they have a huge discontent with their landowners who they've developed relationships with, their outfitters they've developed all these relationships with, you know, and those, a lot of these ranchers and a lot of these guys are, like hitting these game wardens up, like, hey, what do you know? And what are we going to do? And they're like, guys, we don't know. Like, we don't know if they're here. We don't know what's going to happen when they start killing your livestock, all that stuff. And, there's one rancher in Walden, Colorado that suffered a massive amount of losses, several cattle now, some dogs, and he wrote a letter to the governor and wanted him to, put into action the 10J rule to eliminate those couple problem wolves that have been causing him all the problem. And the governor vetoed it and said, no, I'm not coming in there and taking those
was
wolves.
that prior to the wolf
No.
introduction? Like, was that wolves like up in the? Oh no,
Well,
this was
they
after.
were killing prior to the reintroduction, right? We already had those wolves. They were already causing problems, but nothing could be done with them because there was no federal ruling and no state management. Well, they adopt
Mhm.
the federal ruling of the 10J rule. Our wolves hit the ground, which was all secrecy. They dump them out. There was some area or some media involved in it, but nobody knew. So at that point, when those wolves hit the ground, the 10J rule went into effect.
What is the 10J rule?
10J rule is through U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and it was their suggested rule, giving management plans to the state, management availability to kill problem animals. So they adopted the 10J rule, the state did. So Mr. Gittleson wanted to invoke the 10J ruling and take care of these couple wolves that were problems, killing cattle, killing dogs. Governor said no. And that's all public. That's not hearsay. That is all over the internet. That's all over the news, everything. The governor denied that. He said, no, I'm not coming in there and having guys kill them wolves. So here are ranchers suffering damage, from these wolves. And we have management plans set in place that we could use, but he's not going to allow them to use it.
So right now, like if a wolf was attacking your livestock, obviously you can do something about that, right? If it's in the act of something, I
Nope.
would assume. No?
Nope.
You can't do that
Nope.
either? Wow. So what is the line? Like, does it have to be attacking a human or something? Like, is
Yep.
that the only probable
You
cause?
better be chewed up. Yep. If I have two wolves,
Wow. That's
if I have
insane.
two wolves come in my pasture tonight and I watch them kill that colt, I can't do nothing. I can call the game
That
warden.
is
The
insane.
game warden can contact U.S. Fish and Wildlife and contact the CPW head office. They might issue a permit, but probably would not. So I have to stand there and I have to watch that colt be killed by them wolves, and I can't do nothing about it. I can go to jail. I can be fined $100,000. I have to sit there and watch that. That's what's wrong with this.
Man, I'd go stick my foot in its mouth, Like, hey,
You're allowed. You're
it was
allowed to
attacking.
haze them, right? So
Yeah, so, like, get them out of there just by, like, running them off with a
I mean,
truck
what
or
do I do? Do I
something, but,
run out there
like,
with a baseball bat? I can't.
I would,
I can't even physically hit them. I can't harm them. That's what's wrong with this whole deal.
that's crazy that that is the extremism that's going on right now is that you can't even do that, but, like, at what point are you gonna have, obviously, if something like that was going on, you might be like, "This is ridiculous, I've had enough." I don't know, but, it's it would have to really come down to that happening.
Honestly, we've had a lot of those discussions. We really have inside this
Yeah.
household, inside this business, this family. Um, we have considered leaving the state. I mean, 100%. Another thing too,
Mhm.
you ban lion hunting and you take out 60% of what I'm making a living on. Why should I stay here? Although I'm a Colorado native, born in 1997, lived here my whole life, never lived in another state, have paid my taxes my whole life. I have been a hunter since I got my hunter's ed at the age of 10. I I've paid preference points fees. I mean, it goes on and on. I make my living 100% off the hunting industry inside Colorado. But you ban lion hunting and you take away my availability to make money and in turn pay that state tax. Why should I stay here? You're
Right.
taking away my livelihood, by banning that. Um, I mean, it's tough for me to think about leaving because this is all I've ever known, but it's damn sure hard for me to stay. I mean,
No, I mean, I can definitely relate being from
right,
California and not living there anymore and just how hard that is, and that, that's my home, it's so beautiful, everything, like, same exact situation,
right.
and then just having a climate that isn't supportive of what I do.
Family. I mean, I got an uncle here. My little brother lives right here in town. My grandma's still here, and you don't want to leave that. But when a state takes away your rights, you think about you
Yeah.
think about my hounds that are back here behind the shop. You know, that's another equation. Like, what do you do with your dogs? They're parts of your family. These kids are very much attached to these dogs. If they ban the lion hunting, I mean, I could sell a couple dogs, but there's one dog back there that I can't. But how do you sell? It's like selling your kids, right? Like, you
Yeah,
just,
you couldn't
you
do that.
love them so much, but you owe it to them to go hunting. So what do you do? you sell out and you move somewhere where you can go hunting.
Side note, but could you guys still hound hunt bears under this ruling, do you
There's
think? Like,
no
does that have any
there's
effect?
no hound
Oh, you
hunting
can't.
with bears in the state of Colorado. Hasn't been since '92.
Oh,
So
okay. So then obviously that's out as well. So it's not even an
yeah,
option, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so I know our friends in Colorado as well. They are, I mean, they're second, actually, I don't know how many generations down, native Colorado. They've built their elk outfitting business. Like his dad had it, he took it over. They have two boys.
right,
And
right.
they're looking at moving because they're like, look, like we're building, like their business is fantastic and they're building this for these two young boys. Well, in 20 years, what's there gonna be? Probably nothing. So may as well move somewhere else and start it up that way.
Exactly right. Fortunately, these kids of mine don't want in this business, and I've actually kind of steered them out of it because I don't know what tomorrow will bring with the hunting industry, and
Oh, wow, that's
even
interesting
the taxidermy
because your
industry.
dad was a taxidermist, and you being a taxidermist, you would kind of think that you'd want to continue that lineage, but you're obviously thinking like, what is the future going to hold? And
Well,
I mean, you're a taxidermist too. You know how hard it is. So.
right, right. Well, you're under boats like this, right? They ban the
Yeah.
lion hunting, or let's just say, and then they're going to start cutting down on all big game hunting. With this winter kill situation, they're going to go to draws and all that stuff. So, how much availability is actually there? How much availability will those kids to have to do this? Me and Phil Susi had this conversation 2 years ago at Safari Club. And Phil's like, Leland, I will make it till retirement doing cats and solely doing cats. I don't know if you'll be granted the same thing. And I said, I agree 100%, Phil. I foresee myself retooling. I foresee myself going back into game head work, or other forms of it. I'll always do stuff to have fur. I I will never be broke enough to be a fish or a bird taxidermist. Um,
I don't blame you.
I'd,
Yeah, I think we can both relate.
I would rather go sell used cars or something like that. So,
Yep.
so I would go back to doing game heads and chasing other stuff. But and I think that is a harsh reality. I think that I will see that directly. I've been offered some subcontract stuff. I've had a lot of guys contact me and say, "Hey, Leland, if they ban it and you end up getting to where you need some work, give me a call. I don't care where you're at, what state you're in. I will ship cats to you. You build the cats. I'll ship them. We'll ship them back to us. We'll habitat them. We'll even finish them." So those options are out there too. So we'll just see what happens. I think I'll be fortunate. I'll retire at doing what I'm doing. As long as my body holds up with what I do. So, and
Right.
obviously as taxidermist, you're always going to have physical issues. I've already had carpal tunnel. I've had both shoulders done. Like, you just tear stuff up. But I don't, I'm not mounting a bunch of moose heads anymore, and I'm not mounting big bears. I'm not mounting buffalo anymore. And so, it's a little bit more body friendly. So we'll just see what happens, but at 40, 46, you sit there and think, well, how much longer you got, and what are you going to do? And, but I think I'll always do what I do, until I've had enough and call it quits.
Yeah, and I mean, God willing, you'll be able to do it for the rest of your career, and there won't be any major issues. You won't have to move. You can keep working on cats, and there's not an import ban or anything like
Right,
that. So,
right. And I think I have a big enough name and I have a big enough following. Um, and ideally, anyways, it put me caught up. Like if they banned it, I
silver lining.
I think I'd get caught up. Another thing I've said is if I do get caught up, I'd like to do somewhere between 35 to 50 real high end, super, super signature pieces done completely by me,
Yeah.
skinned by me, built by me, and it doing 50 pieces a year. You build one super all star cat every single week and finish a cat every single week, or whether it be a sheep or, a black bear or whatever. But you could do it over the top. You could have cast nose inserts and, custom cast mouths. And we already do some custom mouths. But you could really have an over the top piece. If you were building show quality stuff, and say you did 35 pieces a year, what could I charge? And another thing too is I
Right.
could put that on a schedule. You drop this cat off January 15th, I will have him back to you by January 15th next year. 100% done by me. I think that that's something that really, really intrigues me. So if I get caught up, that's ideally what I want to do. I want to get it reined back in because right now it's been like a truck speeding down the highway with no steering wheel, and it's been a little scary.
Yeah, so it sounds like whatever happens, like, you can roll with it, Like, you're gonna roll with it regardless. Maybe there's a lot of silver linings involved either way, and then also, that might be what you do
Right,
anyway.
exactly
So
right.
that's you'll roll with it.
Exactly. We'll see. We'll just see what
You
happens.
have to, I
We
guess,
are
but
we are putting up a
yeah.
fight. I've made them a pretty large donation with a big life size custom piece that they're gonna auction off and
Oh,
help
awesome.
drum up some funds. And really, it's for education, right? We need to run some commercials and we need to educate the non-educated. So we'll see what happens. But we are kind of up against the ropes, but we're gonna fight back. So we won't know till next November. And I hate to say that.
Oh, that's when the voting happens,
Well,
huh?
if they get their signatures done
Yeah.
and they get their spot on the ballot, then we'll know, next November. And obviously they wanted it on this next November's ballot. Being a presidential election year, they know everybody's going to show up. So they were smart in what they did. Those people are not stupid, and they've already got $20 million wrapped up into this deal.
Damn. 20 million, is that what you just said?
Yeah, they have
That's
$20 million
That's
wrapped
a
up in
lot.
this ballot initiative.
So it really feels like Colorado's just honestly trying to push out all the hunters, all the outfitters. Kind of just, they just want it to be just tourist state, come there to ski and hike and all that stuff. So I don't know, probably if they banned it that you wouldn't be able to do this anyways. But have you heard of that new it's called like heart hunts? It's hunting and release technique, what people are starting to do.
No.
Okay, so what this is the picture I saw, they have like a pistol and your phone is hooked up to like your pistol or your rifle scope. And there's an app that when you shoot the animal, like I think you shoot a blank,
Oh, really?
you pull the trigger or or you release your bowstring and it takes a picture of the exact moment you shoot and the app decides if that was a kill or not.
Really?
Yes, and I'm trying to wrap my head around how anybody would want to hike through the mountains after a mountain lion and fake kill it, but that's a
That's
thing that they're
not
doing.
happening.
What in the world? Yeah, no.
Yes, if I'm gonna bust my butt getting up a mountain and tracking a cat down, I'm not gonna just like pretend that I shot it. But I don't know if that's something that they're trying to introduce as a way to maybe meet the anti-hunters in the middle.
I I haven't heard of that. Obviously, anything's possible in this state. So we'll see.
Yeah.
One thing, I've had some buddies do it, and I would not be opposed to doing this with my outfitting deal, is actually just photo hunts. People always want to go see a cougar in a tree, right? And so,
Hmm.
and talk about a renewable resource. I go out, tree a lion,
Yeah.
charge them the same as a hunt, and they take all the pictures in the world, and we turn around and let him go, you know? And then you go and catch him again next week and take his picture again. Just use that
Yeah.
lion over and over and over again. He might get pretty pissy there after about a year of doing that.
Yeah. Well, and then you would still be kind of like, on the ground,
Right,
hopefully kind of monitoring cats, seeing what they're up to,
right,
and like you're still boots on the ground. So I guess that might be a compromise there.
right.
I don't know if I'd pay the same for that, but
Yeah,
I probably would pay you for that. I
Well,
don't know about
you
the
and
same
I
though,
wouldn't, but
but
somebody
maybe.
might.
true.
Oh man. That's cool though, because I have seen so many cool pictures of people that have like, gone with hound
Right.
hunters or just they're going out there to hound hunt
Yes.
and they've taken awesome
Yep.
pictures. So that is pretty cool. That's another So yeah, I
Yep,
mean, we can only hope
exactly.
that Colorado doesn't follow in the footsteps of other states such as California or such as Oregon, who is currently starting to consider a ballot initiative that would ban all hunting and criminalize things such as killing animals for food, hunting and fishing, and even certain breeding practices of animals. Oregon's got some crazy stuff going on too.
Yes, they do.
Oh my gosh, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't even know how, like, that's a whole nother level where I mean, I don't know how broad even killing animals for food ranges. I don't know if they're talking about farms. It almost sounds like it is. And I wouldn't put it past other states such as Colorado and California to do something like that.
They're sure trying, it sounds like.
They already tried that
Yeah.
in Colorado with the agriculture. They wanted cattle to be of certain age, and
Okay.
obviously it was an age that was not very inducive to the beef market. You know, you're taking older age class
Certain age
animals.
before harvest.
Right. They wanted
Oh,
they like
yeah.
wanted steers to be 5, 6 years old. Well,
Oh.
I mean, so
That ain't gonna work.
it's just an all-out war on agriculture and hunting. Now, look where Colorado got their wolves.
Oregon, right?
Oregon, right? And where did our head of commission come from? Oregon. He's from Oregon.
There you
And
go.
What a
so
coincidence.
we have a lot of, things in common there.
Like
There's a
influence.
lot of influence, there's a lot of connection. I think it's part of just the liberals' plan. It's a war against hunting, it's a war against agriculture, it's a war against farming as well. I livestock growers and farmers. It's just a shame. They don't want to actually listen to the science. It's all about passion for them.
It's all about feelings.
Exactly. It's the warm fuzzy. They can't stop and think, or they can't wrap their mind around us wanting to go hunt and pursue this animal. And they're wrapped up in 100% about the killing. And it's not the killing of the animal. And especially this lion hunting deal. You know, like a lot of us guys that have really, really good dogs and have hunted lions a long, long time, it's more about the chase, and it's more about, I knew her last litter of kittens. I watched them grow up. I've caught her kittens, let her kittens go. I caught her last year. She started looking bad. Her hips were really showing. She just looked poor. I figured the lion to probably be about 12, 13 years old. And that's pretty old for a lion, in the wild. And so I let a guy take her. Sure enough, that's what she is. She's about a 13-year-old female.
Did you have her aged?
Yeah, and that's mandatory in the state. They pull the premolar.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, they
Okay.
pull the premolar on all the lions we take, and then they do an age data. But the problem with the lion data is it's not as correct as a bear. Lions do not shut down production in the wintertime. A bear hibernates, so he shows a ring in his premolar. It's just like a ring in a tree. Well, lions continue to
Mm.
produce, they continue to eat. And so it's a real, real fine line. I can tell you more about a lion's age by gum recession, incisor wear, canine wear, colors of their teeth, all that stuff. And I knew when we killed her, I knew that that's what she would be just because of all the history I had with the girl. Um, but I had an old houndsman tell me one time, it takes a bigger man to walk away from a lion in a tree than it does to kill it. And us guys that have caught numerous lions, and we let more lions go than we ever kill. But the anti-hunters are more worried about us actually killing them. It's not the pursuit of them. It's not
Right.
the management of them. It's not actually paying for them to be on the landscape, because us as hunters actually are the ones who pay to put them on the landscape. But they're so wrapped up about the actual act of us killing those animals that they can't see past that.
Well, and not only that, there's such an opposition to like using hounds for hunting in general, and people don't realize that, the efficiency of using hounds. So just to touch on it real quick, like when, you, for example, you tree a mountain lion using hounds, you can look at that animal and you can determine it's an old animal, it's a male, it's a female, and you get a closer look at what that animal is versus if you were just hunting
Right.
animals like, you would hunt deer or whatever. You're seeing this animal from so far away. You're not seeing what it is. You don't know if it's a male, female. Well, you might, if you're close enough and whatever. But being able to tree them, you can hunt way more efficiently and only harvest the animals that make sense conservationally.
Look, though, when you talk about hound hunting, and people say it's not traditional for one, BS, it's not traditional. Look at our forefathers.
Yeah.
Look at
Who
our,
says
that's
that?
true. And like we fight that too, like with the leopard deal, right? They say that hunting leopards with hounds is unethical, right? And you need to hunt them off bait. Well, that's how Native Africans did it forever and ever, is hunt them with dogs. But the hound hunting deal, you take that lion in particular, that female that we took last year, Shadow. Okay, so the first time I caught Shadow was in 2018. She came out of a piece of property. She crossed a county road, headed off into another piece of property. I turned my dogs loose, and she always left a track that was an either or track. It was either a really good female or it was going to be a younger tom. She had real round toes. And typically females have a real teardrop toe that have a point towards the front of it and really look like a teardrop. So we really didn't know. So we turned on her, had her unraveled there in about 1,000 yards. She's stuck in a big old aspen tree. We snow machine up there. We snow machine within 280 yards to the tree. We walk in there on snowshoes, and I can see at 100 yards that she has nipples. She had been suckling kittens. And I'm like, oh, hey, pregnant female, or, female has kittens. We can't take her 100%. And so we take Shadow's picture and we leave. Well, I go back and I start backtracking her steps. She actually went and stashed these two kittens in a hay barn. And I looked in the hay barn, and those two kittens were about 6 months old, and they were sitting back there in the hay bales. Well, think of that situation. Think if, let's just say, they eliminate our hounds in the state of Colorado with this vote, and they just let you spot and stalk lions. And you were to happen to be sitting there hunting deer or elk, and all of a sudden you've seen this lion, Shadow, for example. You've seen her. You had a lion tag in your pocket and you kill her. You walk up to her and she's got those same exposed
Yeah.
milk
Guess what?
rings.
Yeah,
Boom. You just killed those
right.
two kittens. So the
Yep.
hounds are, allowing us to take the older age class, take the right sex, take them at the right time. I'm not saying that every houndsman in the world uses all those to their best ability, right? You know, there's some
Sure. Yeah.
guys,
It's
there's some
not
guys that are
not perfect.
bloodthirsty, but really, as a whole, all of us are trying to take the best animal over our dogs, and we're not wanting to kill females, especially females with kittens. And it's actually proven 70% of the females that are out there in the wild have kittens of some capacity. Whether they're 2-year-old kittens are still trailing around with them, or they got a brand new set of kittens stashed in a cliff somewhere. So it's just best not to take them. But when they're sitting there in a tree and you can look at them and it's plain as day. I mean, it is plain as day if they have kittens. So you're allowed to let those go. So even the tom lions, I can't tell you how many 2.5-year-old, 3.5-year-old tom lions we've let go because they just weren't right, right? Like a hunter
Right.
wasn't going to be happy with them. They're not going to be big, nice, beautiful cats. They're not to the age class that they need to be taken. And we turned a lot of those lions loose, but we kept a mental note where they lived. And we went back the next year. We went back 2 years later, and we were able to take those lions. I mean, I had tom lions that I've caught 2-3 years in a row, and I waited for them to get 5-6-year-old lions before I took them. And those lions were really kind of cool to catch because they knew the deal. Okay, all these barking dogs, they're going to take my picture and they're going to let me get on with life. you know so yeah, the hounds afford you that. If we go to a spot and stock situation, we're going to kill adolescents, we're going to kill pregnant
Oh yeah.
females, we're going to kill lactating females. um, you
Cubs
have
maybe.
that in
Kittens.
Washington State, you have that in Oregon. And it's really, really a shame. So, but really, hound hunting with dogs is the traditional way to hunt. Another thing with this bill is you need support from all hunters, all outdoorsmen. It doesn't matter if you're a bird hunter that likes going sitting in your duck blind with your lab. You're hunting with a dog. You're next. The upland guys, hunting over their pointers, whatever. The coon hunters, if you like treeing coons, like we're all in this fight together, and let's just face it, this isn't a real fight against lion hunters. This is an all-out war on guns because their whole agenda is this, and this has been proven, and this has been publicly
Yep.
stated. All right, so let's ban the cat hunting in Colorado. Let's release the wolves. Let's get them some grizzly bears. Let's get them some wolverines. Let's eat up everything that eats grass, and then they won't need to hunt. And when they don't need to hunt, then they don't need their guns. And that's always been us as gun owners' deal is, that's our right. That's our God given right. And we as hunters want our firearms. And so it's just a war on guns at the end of the day.
Right. It's all part of, I'm not even being too tinfoil hatty, but it's all part of, a big agenda, a big scheme to change the whole social climate of this, of our lifestyle. So it's all connected.
How sick is that? Like we're not going to the city and forcing them to go hunting, right? Um, we're not imposing meat on a vegetarian or a meat eater, you know, lifestyle. We're not down there throwing rocks at you guys, but they want to control our way of life, and they want to change how we think and what we get to do, you know, or
Yeah.
the heritage and the tradition that I'm passing on to these kids, and what they're going to pass on to their kids. That's the scariest thing is what am I leaving these guys? What can or can't they do? Ridge, that's that boy of mine at 13 years old, even though he's grown up with hounds, he still wants to have hounds. He would still like to have his own hounds, do his own lion hunts, hunt with his buddies like I did, in my early 20s. He would still really like to do that. Is he going to get to do that in
Yeah,
his
he wants
home
to live
state?
that life. Yeah.
Right? Is he going to get to do that? And that's the worst part of it, right? Like I almost could see myself retiring from hound hunting at the point when he could take it over and kind of go. How cool would that be is, you know, me to have trained him and turned my dogs over to him and Ridge to come home at night and say, Dad, well, I had this situation or I had this situation. How do I unravel this? In all the years of me chasing hounds, be like, well, son, did you do this or did you do that? Or even just to sit back. And I do this some with him now. Like I make him, go cut some tracks and I make him handle dogs a lot. But get to sit back and have a proud dad moment and just watch him go do it on his own. I don't I don't know that I'll have that. I don't know if I'll be able to let him get to 16, cut his own lion track, turn his own dogs loose, go orchestrate a hunt all by himself. And that's a shame. Really, really is a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as taxidermists, conservationists, and like outdoors men and women, like that's all we want is nothing more than to keep the populations and the health of the animals, at good numbers for all future generations
I
to
agree.
enjoy. We can just kind of hope that emotions don't outweigh,
Science.
the hard facts and numbers that help regulate the population.
Yeah, totally. Exactly what you're saying. It affects not only us right now, but affects the future.
Right.
Yeah, we want nothing more than for the animals to be healthy and happy and good to go. But yeah, who knows what'll happen? But we're about to kind of wrap things up. But like, is there anything else you kind of wanted to add?
Not that I can think of.
You gave us a lot of good info.
I hope so.
So, if anyone listening, if you would like to help support the fight against the banning of hunting of these wildcats and other counterintuitive measures against conservation, you can donate at savethehuntcolorado.com.
Yep.
And thank you, Leland, for talking with us today and giving us a great perspective on what it's like being a taxidermist, houndsman, and a hunter in Colorado right now.
I appreciate it. Thanks for giving me the time and the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We would like to thank you for listening to our new podcast, Wildverse, and we hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Leland and his life in the changing state of Colorado. If you would like to stay up to date on new episode releases, you can follow us on Facebook at Wildverse Taxidermy Podcast and Instagram at Wildverse Podcast.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Wildverse Podcast, to see when new videos come out. Or you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yes, and we hope you have a great week. And just a reminder to please support proper conservation and get out there and vote.
Yes, vote.